Hi, my name's Sean Lee-Davies, and this is Tycoon Talk, where I get to spend some downtime with the biggest names in business. This week, I meet a man who has bridged both the worlds of commerce and politics, founder of G2000 and vice chairman of the New People's Party, the Honourable Michael Tien. Hong Kong is one of the greatest business cities on the planet. It produces millionaires faster than anywhere else in the world, and making money is a favorite pastime. It's also getting harder, and the question is not just how to survive, but how to thrive. I've interviewed and photographed some of the biggest celebrities in the world in my time as a magazine editor, and successful people all seem to share similar traits. I'm on a quest to discover what drives a tycoon to rise above the rest. Not just to be rich, but to dominate an industry. I want to get behind the public facade and reveal their true personalities, as well as their secrets for extreme success. Not content with owning one of Hong Kong's most recognizable clothing brands, the Honourable Michael Tien felt compelled to move into politics. I want to find out how Michael balances the demands of both worlds and where his priorities really lie. So let's start at the beginning. Your father was a very successful businessman and also a politician. Did he ever edge you into this career that you're now in?
Not at all. I think basically kids look up to parents. You don't need to say anything. Most of the time, kids will do what the contrary of what parents tell them to do. I kind of learned that lesson. So now being a parent, instead of telling my kids what I want them to do, I just do it myself. All right? And without saying, just let them observe, which is really what happened. I'm not sure our father really wanted or expected us to go into politics, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Of course, that's quite contrary to a lot of families here in Hong Kong who are very adamant that their children go into professions such as being a doctor or a lawyer. So you very much...
Not our dad is very liberal. I was supposed to be a nuclear engineer, believe it or not. My brother studied chemical engineering. Neither of us, when we were young, wanted to have anything to do with genes.
But your genes, the other type of genes, probably made you go into the...
Yeah, my brother came back and took over the jeans production business and later ventured into development. I wasn't good at anything when I was young. You know, I couldn't get into the school team, athletics, swimming, nothing at all. My favorite pastime when I was young was to go shopping with my mother, kept her company, and I thought retail was very fascinating, especially, you know, Christmas time and Chinese New Year. You look at how each brand present their product. So I always kind of enjoy that part of my childhood. So it kind of set the stage for, you know, later on.
In 1967, at the insistence of his mother, Michael was sent to Boston in the USA to complete his studies. He later applied to enter Harvard Business School. And of course, it wasn't easy getting into Harvard. You got rejected at first.
During high school, my father always took me out to join him dinner with these Jewish buyers. I actually inherited some American accent from the Jewish buyer who used to buy from my dad. I probably speak almost like a Native American in those days. So as a result, I'm very good in listening and speaking, the 2 out of the 4 domains of a language. The other 2, I fail miserably, writing and reading, because I have very limited vocabulary. So Harvard actually put me on waiting list. And I asked him why, and I have a 3.93 average, not too bad. Why don't you give me an interview? So I drove 7 hours. During that interview, I told him, what's the most important thing about a businessman? Is it listening and speaking, or is it reading and writing? We're talking about business. I sold them based on part of my English skill where I was strong at. So anyway, eventually he was convinced. First lesson in life is you have to persevere, right? Never give up. And you need to really be able to focus on the key issues. So these are a couple of things that after that interview let me have a first taste of how to set priority in a particular pursuit.
So how informative were those years at Harvard for you?
The one thing that I learned, a lot of times you don't actually need to do the work yourself. You can be the last to speak, listen to others, get the best of what everyone can offer, and come up with your comprehensive, unique, but not original view.
Like politics.
This is how I crack the cases. Half the time, I never studied the case. I was the last to raise my, because if I didn't speak, then I would have flunked the course. They put a lot of weight on class participation. Not only how many times you speak, but the quality. And I was not a speed reader. We had to do 3 cases a night. To me, it's hopeless. I could not even finish 1 case. I was a good listener, so I kind of get the gist of what everybody has to say. Now, so I raise my hand and say, well, I kind of agree with him, I agree with him. We look at it this way, which is really what politics is about today.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of my legislative colleagues don't read the papers. They walked in, they listened to others. The key is to communicate effectively by focusing on 1 or 2 points that the public can relate to. That doesn't take 10 hours of reading a paper. So this is the skill. And to derive all the different perspectives of looking at a particular situation, so that part helps me today.
Michael entered politics in 2008 when he joined the Liberal Party. In 2010, he left to co-found the New People's Party together with Regina Ip. In 2012, he became a legislative councillor when he won a seat in the New Territories West constituency. I also meet with Judy Chan, a party freshman who recently won a surprise victory for the district council seat in South Horizons and who works closely with Michael.
I actually work really closely with him during the 2011 election. He is always full of energy and very self-motivated. And actually in my own election, he also helped me a lot. Not just standing by me, but also gives me a lot of courage.
A lot of people criticize politicians for being fake or two-faced. You seem to me to be a very candid, honest person. Do you think that that's what people are after in Hong Kong? They want someone a bit more in tune with them?
One of the things I learned from both, Regina and Michael too, they only speak from their mind, for the good of the people in long run. Yes, not just for their own benefit.
You as a politician now, you're out there on the streets, you're hearing the complaints that the public are making. What are you hearing now?
I think for Hong Kong, this is a classic case of a situation where we are a victim of our success. When you have nothing, it takes very little to get you motivated. And you are very focused on that particular pursuit. When you have everything, nothing will satisfy you. You look at people to criticize, you pick on things, because life is too easy. In a sense, that's what's happened to Hong Kong. We sit on too huge a reserve. We pay very little taxes. We enjoy a lot of free service, more than I think any other citizen in the world, right? A lot of things in Hong Kong are free and delivered with good quality and very promptly. We still have complaints. That's the reason. And public housing, it becomes part of basic citizen rights. We need to have free school, free hospital, free house to live in. Well, if it's not free, it's very cheap. That part, I don't mind. Basic services given to Hong Kong people free, I don't mind. But not assets. You need to work for your assets. Otherwise, what other motivation do you have in life if everything is given to you? The young people coming out now, everyone, before they graduate, they were thinking about buying a flat. In my days, hey, you're supposed to work your butt off, rent a place for 10, 20 years, save some money, and then go buy your own flat. You're not entitled to a flat on day one. That's what people expect now.
But isn't the point that property prices are too great for young people who are working very hard to get onto the property ladder?
Let me ask you this. If property prices haven't been going up like this, do you think it would be an issue for young people to want to rush and buy a flat? The problem that they see today, and they blame it on rising property prices. But the irony is that if property prices have not risen in the last 20 years, they would not have that urgent need to jump on the bandwagon to own their flat on day one. So isn't that catch-22?
Well, some help from the government would definitely be good, but I think the younger generation should also, work harder.
Work harder?
Yeah.
Do you feel that you should work harder?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of young generation these days are quite spoiled. I'm no exception because my parents, they give a lot, and we take a lot too. So
Sure.
I think we should really, also think about how we can contribute. We can't always take and not give.
So you are asking for a government to be a bit more interventionist when it comes to rental and property management. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
I actually do not have a big objection about rent control, even though my friends would crucify me for bringing that up.
I mean, it's one of the pillars of Hong Kong government.
Reasonable degree of rent control. Maybe annual rental not exceeding, 20, 30% a year and not doubling it, But something that gives room for both sides.
Global wealth tax. Would you sign up to that for the super rich?
I don't mind. I don't mind. People will accuse me of being selfish because I'm not in that league. But, honestly, with the super rich, I think they have too many zeros. They don't need so many zeros.
You have a lot of zeros, Michael?
No, I don't. I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, honestly.
When we come back, Michael and I visit one of his flagship stores to find out what makes G2000 so successful. Plus, I talk to two of the group's leading designers for more insight into Michael's leadership style and working philosophy. Welcome back to Tycoon Talk, where I'm spending some downtime with retailer turned politician Michael Tien. Michael's about to take me to Cheam Sa Choi to show me around one of his flagship stores. Is it actually possible to mix careers like you do? In the sense that, can you do both?
You need to find a passion. If you find a passion in life, then everything else can be overcome. As long as I occupy myself 20 hours a day, I leave 4 hours to sleep.
4 hours?
Yeah, that's a perk of being old.
Wow.
Yeah, I sleep a lot more when I was younger.
So when you came out of Harvard, you want to start your business, you thought, okay, what's the least risky business?
Retail.
And you went into retail. And you
I
also
still
had a
believe
background in
retail without owning your own shops. Right? The problem with owning your own real estate, and this is also a very crucial lesson I learned at Harvard, is not that you will make less money. You actually accumulate more wealth if you own your real estate. The problem is you become complacent and you will lose your passion as a retailer. When I graduated from Harvard, I got an offer from an oil company, investment company, and Macy's retail. And I decided I wanted to be in the people's business where I can get close to shopping and really create a lot of jobs. That's why I took retail, and I haven't regretted since.
Michael founded the G2000 Group in 1980, targeting the affordable men's and women's career wear market. Today, the group has over 700 outlets spanning more than 10 countries across Asia and the Middle East. So, Michael, we're in a very different environment from your political office here.
That's right.
Which do you prefer?
I need both to keep me going. Sometimes when you are too indulged in one particular piece of work, you couldn't really stand back and take a different perspective. A lot of days I spend half a day politics, half a day looking at colors and fabric. It's interesting. It sort of balances my inner self. When I come back again the next day, all the problems seems to be a bit easier to handle. So I like this balance.
Let's have a look at one of your suits over here. Now, can you tell me what makes a G2000 suit special?
G2000's concept is to supply working fashion to the first 10 years of someone's working life. I think I monopolized the market in terms of the first suit to go for an interview of all the college graduates.
And was that a
And then after that,
decision?
they get the job, they get a raise, then they dump me. And they go on to international brands, you know, fancier names, all right? So that's fine with me. So in a sense, I also felt that if I stick to this particular position, I'm also achieving certain social purpose.
Ah,
right?
social purpose.
Social purpose.
How hands-on are you with the design and the look and feel of the store, as well as the clothing?
I'm not a creator.
Right.
I'm a selector. My job as the owner is to decide, is to select and decide.
A curator.
It's like any leader. People give you recommendations. You have advisors. All the advisors, each of them sell you their policy. You listen to all of them, and then you decide which one you want to adopt.
Later, I sit down with two of Michael's top advisors, Ricky Chan and Joan Wong, both senior creative directors at the company, each responsible for the core men's and women's clothing lines. I begin by asking Ricky what Michael is really like to work with.
I think he's one of the most difficult boss, well known in the industry.
Really? Tough boss?
Very tough boss.
Wow.
Yeah, he sets the bar very high. He always pushes you to the limit. You have to deliver your best, otherwise you fail or you need to redo it. But because of this, I think everybody's potential can be fully developed. Even some employees, their potentials, they cannot realize themselves until they're working here within a short time.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you feel that you've reached your potential because Michael's pushed you?
He pushed me very hard for the last 12 years. I think I still have some potential left to be developed by him. So long.
Let's say he doesn't like what you've done. What happens?
We will, redesign the whole collection again or adjust our flavor so that we have to present him again in the next few weeks. He needs a perfect collection.
What do you think the secret to his success is?
Hands-on. He's a really hands-on person. He's detail-oriented. He doesn't mind rolling up his sleeves and going in the process with us, because through this he will, have more knowledge about the whole thing and know what's wrong with the process or even the person in charge.
What seems strange about Michael is that he's a politician, and yet he's in the fashion business or the apparel business. Do you think he's fashionable?
He is not fashion-forward. He is not trendy for sure, but he's fashionable and sophisticated.
Right.
Yeah, he cannot design. I mean, he's not strong in design, but he can tell you what's wrong with the color mixing of individual styles and what's missing in your styles.
When there's something that you think is right, but he thinks is wrong, how do you go about convincing him?
You have to back up with facts. You back up your arguments with concrete analysis or reports or past data or history. He will simply listen to it. He's a strong man, but he's a good listener sometimes.
And have there been moments where he's wrong and he's admitted it?
Yes. In a way, it's interesting. He's very a strong-minded person, but yet he's very humble. At the end, if he finds he's wrong, he will say that, okay, go on your way.
Like Ricky, Joan Wong is a senior product designer at the group. She's responsible for overseeing major product lines for women's wear. Joan has only recently joined the company, but has had enough time to experience Michael's unique working style. You've only been here for 4 months, but in that time, is there a unique style that Michael has that you haven't seen in any other kind of boss or business leader?
He is super hardworking. He's very outspoken and welcomes a constructive confrontations, which is very different. He is not the kind of boss who will order you, and instead he will ask you questions. To me, it is very good because he's outspoken and open-minded, and so we can be outspoken as well and say what we think.
Are there any times when your opinion clashes with his and you're saying, no, this is the way to go, and he's saying, no, that's the way to go?
Many times. Yeah, it's hard to find a balance because he's the boss after all, and you cannot be not respectful. But he welcomes confrontations as long as it's constructive at what I said. He likes that in some way, and he likes the chemistry. But of course, in the end, if we cannot compromise, I have to respect. He call the shot.
How would you describe his business and creative process?
He's very insightful and strategic. He will throw questions and leads us to open answer. That's the way he worked with us. From interact with his staff or from shopping with us and see what's going on in the market, he gets a lot of information.
Do you think Michael is a good role model to a new generation of entrepreneurs and even fashion designers trying to create their own brands here in Hong Kong?
I'll tell you a secret. When I studied in Hong Kong Polytechnic, I was graduated in Inspire School of Design. G2000 was one of the sponsors who sponsored us to Europe. So my first trip to Paris to Premier Vision was sponsored by him. Yeah, it was like 20 years ago. And so I think it was a good role model, like local business support, local designer. Otherwise I won't be here to help him.
Does he know that when he hired you?
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know that?
I didn't tell him.
So they actually, all those years ago, sponsored you to go
Yes.
to Paris?
Yes.
And that indirectly has led you to...
Yeah.
Wow, what a great story.
He will know from this.
Michael might be tearing a little
No,
bit.
he won't.
3 tips for success.
You have to be passionate about what you do. You have to enjoy the product, the service, and the process. You have to truly look forward to it when you're doing something else. The second one I would say is that you should be the end user. You should be an end user of the product. Being an end user of that product keeps your interest. So I'm here not building wealth. I'm here building a passion, an interest. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I enjoy
Right. Big difference.
this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
If I sell it, then I have a very boring ride. I have a lot of money, but there's no passion. The third area, I think, if I look back, is to know what to change and what not to change and when. We face very different products here. Some should have a longer life cycle, some should have a shorter one. If something still works and you destroy it, then you're just dumb. So the third key is when to destroy what you create.
One day you might be chief executive, perhaps.
Chief executive, I'm already chief executive.
So
I'm chief executive G2000. I'm deputy chief executive of my political party. But if you're talking about the top job in Hong Kong, I'm not that kind of animal.
An early passion for fashion combined with a flair for figures led Michael Tien to build one of Hong Kong's most enduring and recognizable retail brands. Michael's energy and drive combined with a gift as a public speaker led him into politics, pushing issues he believed will bring about a more equitable society. For the Honourable Michael Tien, it's business and politics as usual.